Everyone, it's Amy Terrell, and I want to show you a quick rundown of how to own new vocabulary. I'm going to do this through the method called the Frayer model. You will also hear me refer to these as word charts, and these are how I help my students conquer unfamiliar vocabulary. Now, traditional vocabulary instructions include long vocabulary lists, multiple choice tests, and ultimately equate no authentic learning. Usually we get these long lists, students look at these lists, they stick them in their binder, they don't really remember them again until the night before the test. Then they go to dictionary.com, they define this list of terms, they cram for the test, and it's stressful. A couple of days later, no one has any idea what those terms mean. So digging into authentic learning with vocabulary instruction has changed for me through using the Frayer model. I do this because I do want my students to engage in this text, because I do feel the only way that they can get true vocabulary ownership is by having to work through those terms. I'm going to show you in just a second how to use these terms, and then I'm going to tell you about who can use these terms and how long it takes, and that students and teachers both benefit from these texts. Here's an example of a Frayer model. Different models vary as to what the squares entail, but for the most part, the topics are pretty general. We have our definition in the top left, and I have my students write these in student-friendly terms, because if they don't understand what the definition is from the dictionary, that's not going to help them later on. So I make them make it relatable to them. And if you look at the top right corner, you have characteristics. I often have students illustrate in this corner. The bottom left says examples, and this is where I have students give concrete examples, or for the most part I do bulleted lists of synonyms, because I find that if students can find another word to relate that word to, that they can make that connection and have that true authentic learning. Now, the next box, that's that bottom right corner, we have non-examples. For the most part, that would be antonyms. And again, if students can identify what the words are in the synonyms and what they are not through antonyms, they can make that authentic connection. Now, here's some other examples. In this top left corner, you see a student notebook. There are 4 complete vocab sets. And I'm going to tell you how I do that in just a second. But then you see some other student examples, and you will see that we define these on the board through the use of an inner right or a document camera. That way everyone can see what's going on. This bottom right corner is an example from U.S. history. Our U.S. history teacher took this idea and has made it into like study concept maps. He took that idea and ran with it, and it's truly helped student engagement and retention of knowledge. So here's an example of what I do in my class. I have 6 groups separated within my classroom. Each of those groups have a corresponding number, and I should say those 6 groups have 5 students. So I have 6 groups of 5 for a total of 30 students. Each group has a corresponding number, and as they enter the class on days that we do vocabulary, this is what they would see on the board. Each group only has 5 vocabulary words to define, so that would equate 1 word per student. That vocabulary time lasts about 20 minutes. That way each student can define their term, give their examples, present to their groups, and they talk about it, because we do present. Each student presents their word to the group. This is how the groups define words. Oftentimes I have them take a picture with their phone. They upload it into the discussion on Canvas, or we share it through a class shared Google folder. That way everyone has a student example of their vocab. If you notice the 31 through 35, it's a white bubble. It says everyone on the board. We send a representative from each group and we talk about these words. Sometimes I do it differently each time. Sometimes I do it as like a cold read, you would say. We do cold vocab. One student from each group comes to the board and we hash this out together. This often levels the playing field so students understand that other students struggle with vocabulary definitions, how to set up a Frayer model. It's just a great way to show everyone that at sometimes you don't know it all. And it's great for 10th grade ELA, which is what I teach. So once we do that, like I said, we share it through Canvas. We may turn it into a Quizlet. Each group can turn theirs into a Kahoot challenge, but it is definitely proved that students who normally wouldn't do well in vocabulary instruction have started to excel, and it's been awesome to watch this. If you need me, you can contact me through Canvas, but I want to show you quickly just different Frayer models that you can see. I'm going to go to a new tab for Google, and I'm going to put in Frayer model. I'm going to go to Images, and through Images you can see a plethora of Frayer model templates that you can use. Through these templates, I hope that you can find one that relates most closely to your class. You can always tweak those squares, but just know, having students dig into the vocab and have appropriate involvement and engagement with these words will change the way they retain information in your class. Like I said, if you need me, contact me through Canvas or Aterrell, ATERRELL, at Columbia Schools with an S.org, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for listening. Live long and prosper.